Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. Club. We're in Christmas week here in Sydney, and I'm down here on the Car Hill Expressway, and as you can see, Sydney is deserted. Deserted again with the latest COVID-19 scare, which is happening on the northern beaches, but I'm sure we're going to get it all under control and it'll all be fine. But once again, Sydney, which last week was full of Christmas vibe, has now gone back into its shell, rightly so, to responsibly do whatever it has to do to manage the current situation. And I guess in a couple of weeks' time, things will be a lot better and we'll be back to a certain new normal. Anyway, welcome once again to Jim's 5 a.m. Club. And what I'll do today is go on a walk and talk and just check out how beautiful this harbour of ours is. It's another overcast day, and believe it or not, for the first month of summer, most of the days have been like this, overcast, at least for part of the day. So we really haven't had a wonderful summer as yet. But we're not complaining. It's still beautiful, regardless of whether or not it's raining or not. But what we'll do today is we'll go on a walk and talk, and I'll talk to you about a book summary, a wonderful book summary called Rejection Proof. Rejection Proof, and it's written by the author Jia Jiang. Jia Jiang. So what do we learn about being rejection proof? And I think it's a perfect topic, given this time of year, given this state in all of our lives, where we've got challenges from COVID, where we spend a lot of time on social media, and there's a battle out there for attention, and friendships chop and change from day to day. So I grew up as an only child, so I didn't have brothers and sisters to contend with. I'm very lucky that I had loving parents who were very committed to doing the right thing and bringing me up the best possible way they could. And I always felt as if I was the center of a universe, and that universe was our family universe. So very lucky. And I didn't really get to taste or feel the anything to do with rejection. But once you get up and grow up and go to school, go to university, start working, and start socialising in a number of different social orbits, you start to feel the pressures of the games that people play. And you just need to be mindful and play your own game according to your own rules, so that you're not victim to any rejection or any games, as I said before, that people play, and you just get on with your life and you make the most of each and every opportunity as and when it arises. So the author kicks off his book, or her book. I don't know if Jia is a male or a female, but we'll just keep it genderless to be attuned to the 2020 way of the world. The author says that amazing things happen when you don't fear rejection, when you don't give a shit about rejection, and you've got nothing to lose. That is a powerful place to be, and a place that we all want to spend a lot more time in, where we don't give a damn about whether or not people accept us or don't accept us, as long as we're in control of what we feel about ourselves. So the author then goes on to say that you need to learn and to welcome rejection and to weather it. You need to be able to weather rejections in order to eventually get to acceptance. Because sooner or later, regardless of how many no's, how many rejections you get, you're going to come across a social circle, a team, a group of people, and it may only be just one person, your partner for life, who's going to accept you for who you are, and that's the name of the game, to at least have one person at the end of the day, other than yourself, who accepts you and who are not your parent, mother or father, because they've got no choice. Anyway, so as the author alludes to here, he says that you need to first focus on acceptance from yourself, a self, rather than spending too much time and effort thirsting for acceptance from every Tom, Dick and Harry. So you need to be comfortable with being with yourself, because by being comfortable with yourself, the author says, is a prerequisite and not the result of seeking others' approval. So the key is to accept yourself and to not reject yourself, because believe it or not, there are a lot of people who reject themselves. It's not that other people are rejecting them, they're their own worst enemies, their own hit squad, their hate team. The ones who pick on themselves and treat themselves badly are often the people who are in fact themselves. So the author also talks about the fact that all rejection has hidden upsides, which we need to be able to realise and tap into. So what do you mean by upsides? There are upsides if you look for them, because not all rejection is actual rejection. A lot of people will reject you initially just to test you out, to see if you're the real McCoy, to see if you are the person who is worthy of being a friend, who is worthy of being an equal work colleague or a team member. I remember when I first met my wife. My wife actually said to me that she didn't like me. She hated me initially because of my arrogance and my style. But 35 years later, or 39 years later, because we've been together for about 39 years, we're still together. So there's something to say about that initial chemistry, or that initial sort of emotional impact that has a lasting and a weathering effect. So the other thing we've got to understand is we're going to learn to live with rejection, but we're also going to learn to manage it. And the author says that through humour and laughter you can mitigate pain. So just laugh it off and don't take it personally, because there are people out there that, regardless of what you do, regardless of what who you are, regardless of what you can offer, past, present or future, they're just not going to accept you because you're not their kind of person. You're not their type. I don't know what that type is, but you'll find out over time that each person has a type of person that they're physically, mentally, socially, spiritually attracted to. And regardless of what you think you have and what you think of that you can contribute, some people just won't see it and will never ever see it. So you need to understand that rejection is not the truth. If somebody rejects you, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's not a truth. It's not an absolute truth. Rejection is but an opinion. And we know that people's opinions can be shallow, can be misguided, they can be based on things which are outside of our control. They can be based on the mood that they're in, the current mood. And we know that we all have different moods throughout the day. And if somebody approaches you at the wrong time of the day, or the wrong part of the cycle of your mood swing throughout the day, they may not register and resonate and feel loved. There are also circumstances which impact rejection. It may not be the right time, it may not be the right circumstances. Who knows what's going on in the other person's life? Everybody's got their challenges, everybody's got their distractions. So if a person rejects you, or worse still, if you just feel rejected, even though the other person hasn't rejected you, just because they don't give you the attention that you think you deserve to have, then it could be based on circumstances, the circumstance of the moment. Other people reject because of the knowledge that they have. They may know something about you or have heard something about you which may be true or may not be true, which doesn't resonate or fit their value set. They may reject you based on their experience, on their education, on their culture. Who knows what it is? But there are so many things. There are so many things at play at the one time that will impact whether or not people will accept you, or even that you'll accept yourself. And it goes from one extreme to the other. How many times do you know? How many times have you experienced that with a certain person, with a certain group of people, in a certain organisation? You could be flavour of the month, where everybody absolutely loves you, trusts you, and takes you for face value, and appreciates everything you do. And then, in the drop of a coin, or the twinkling of the eye, or the heartbeat, in just a heartbeat, all of that can possibly change, and you're no longer flavour of the month. And it's a painful feeling, but we need to live with it. We need to understand it, and we need to accept it, that it's something which happens every day, but it's something which is not to be taken personally. There are times where we're wanted, and there are times where we're not needed or wanted, because that's how people are, and that's how society is. But the other thing that the author talks about is that if you persist for long enough with people, because people are habitual in nature, if you persist with people long enough, you can get a yes by talking to enough people, or by talking to the same person for long enough, or by retreating and coming back at a better time. Who knows? Who knows what the answer is? But you just got to keep on trying, and just know that it's a numbers game, that if you get rejected by one client, 2 clients, 10 clients, doesn't mean that your product, your service, or you are not valuable. It just means that it hasn't been the right opportunity where their needs and your service come together and are required. So you've got to ask yourself a very, very powerful and good question. Is my idea worthy of rejection? Ask yourself that. It's a good question to ask. And before you say goodbye, this is really powerful. So this is the biggest takeaway from the book. I found this extremely powerful. We all feel rejected sometimes. We all feel hurt sometimes. But the important thing that we all must do before we say goodbye is to ask the question why. It's important to close the loop. It's important to get closure and to know why you're being rejected, and to give the other person an opportunity to articulate it. Because they may not even know that you're feeling rejected. They may not even know that they're rejecting you. So you've got to ask the question why, and by asking the question why, then the client may give you some valuable feedback which may allow you to sell your case again, or come up with some more rebuttals or some more examples, or offer some better solutions and maintain that relationship. Who knows? But by asking why after rejection, you get to see the underlying reason for the rejection, and you get one more shot at overcoming the rejection. As they say, it's not over until the fat lady sings or the fat man sings. So by asking why, this is very, very important. By asking why, by being direct and asking why, you get one more chance at finding out the reason, and you can turn it around if you persist and if there's an opportunity there. So another important lesson from this book is that if you feel rejected, what you may also want to do is to retreat. Retreat and try and get a lesser yes. Just like everything, in the art of seduction, it's all about getting yes, yes, yes along the way. So you need to break up the cycle. You need to break up the questioning. You need to break up your behaviors, your movements, into smaller steps where you're getting acknowledgement and yes. And it's only through getting a yes that you can progress to non-rejection. So it's important also to understand that if you are rejected, it's always better to collaborate, but never to contend or argue with the person who you feel is rejecting you. So if you're in a sales situation, an example that the author is saying that if you're getting rejected by one person, what you may want to do is switch up and don't give up. So what that means is step back and ask someone else. So even though one person from a sales or from a business perspective is rejecting your sales advances, then what you may want to do is to then bypass them and go on to somebody else. There's always a way. There's more than one way to achieve a sale, is what the author is trying to suggest. So it's always important to acknowledge rejection and to ask the question why, but it's also just as important to be direct, ask the question why, acknowledge, and just understand what the doubts are, because regardless of what happens, if you're honest and upfront with the person who is rejecting you, they will tend to be honest and upfront with you as well, and they'll give you an opportunity to save face, but also they will respect you for being man enough or woman enough to be direct, to be sensitive enough to ask the question why, because sometimes people don't think that you're interested enough, and that's why they reject, just to test whether or not there is an interest there, there is a bona fide interest or trust or need for a relationship. And because a lot of people think that certain people are just overwhelmed and inundated by many, many friendships. And by having many, many friendships, that a new friendship or a new connection may not necessarily be welcomed or accepted, only to find out that that person may be surrounded by lots of people, have lots of social media friends, but be very, very lonely and isolated indeed. So always ask what you want from the people around you. Be direct. Don't pussy your foot around. Don't be implicit, but be explicit with what you want, because it's only by being direct and being explicit that you're really going to communicate clearly and unambiguously and get to the next point or get to the next step if that's what you desire to do. Because the bottom line, and we all realise this when we get older, we waste so much time second guessing, hoping, wishing. The only way you'll ever know about anything in life is if you ask the question. You've got to ask the question, take the bold first step and ask the question. And if the rejection is real, regardless of what that rejection is, if people don't see you as their type, if people don't want to associate with you or socialise with you, then it's all fine. There's no problem. We're all big enough, old enough, ugly enough, and strong enough to get on with life, because we need to be able to, as the author says, learn to detach from the results and learn to accept whatever happens, whatever outcome there is, without taking it personally, and to always be in full approval of yourself, and not to ever be the person to be criticising yourself and suggesting that any rejection that happens in your life is something that you deserve, or something that was coming to you because of A, B or C reason. Every person is worthy of being accepted. Every person is worthy of being treated with respect and being acknowledged. So don't feel as if you are second rate or you're not good enough, because that is probably the beginning of greater problems, greater social problems that you may come up with later on in life. And as we said, friendships, social circles, even families have a use-by date. So you've got to make the most of it while you can, when you can, and build on whatever rapport you have, and to work hard at keeping those relationships alive, keeping the chemistry happening, and being the magic glue that keeps families, friends, and work colleagues bound together in a positive sort of environment. Anyway, let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, and most importantly, let's take a few lessons from this wonderful book and become rejection proofed, so that we don't have to worry about being rejected. And if we are rejected, have the balls, have the tits to be able to ask the very, very respectful and important direct question, why? Why am I being rejected? And to give the person an opportunity to answer and to be honest and upfront, which may give you another opportunity for a second bite of the cherry. But at the end of the day, regardless of what the outcome is, we've got to understand that we need to move on, grow up, and get on with our lives, and to detach ourselves from the situation. Thank you once again for joining me on Jim's 5am Club. I've thoroughly enjoyed delivering this episode today, and well on my way to getting closer to 600 vlogs, and well on my way to kicking the 1,000 home in 2021, God willing. So thank you, and I look forward to coming to you again tomorrow from another location with another message of empowerment, something that will help us get up and get through our morning, get through our day, and make the most of this very day, this very, very day that we have today, that will never, ever come back in our lives. And remembering, what we don't do today, we'll never get a chance of doing it again today. So live, learn, and pass it on, and make the most of your today. Yasas, sasagapao, Bilakya, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now from Jim's 5am Club.